Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me. I am hoping that you all can hear me. Can you all hear me? Hello? Hello, can you hear me? So I see the notice popped, and I am going to. Um, so let's get situated. I think we all need to take a little sip because it's one of those crazy mornings. There you go. So, um, all right. Well, just to be my friend Starla, we needed to reschedule today because this is sometimes bodies do not do what we want them to do. So, like and subscribe. You'll be notified when Starla comes back for a live. We're going to work on getting something rescheduled as soon as we can. And I just have to say, I am actually very, very thrilled to be having this casual with Jeffrey's voice. And in a minute here, he'll start talking, but we were like going, oh, everybody, I know people want me to talk about like a shared deck and how I went with that. And I thought, Jeffrey's home, so let's ask. So, Jeffrey, can you say hi and everybody can tell us whether or not they can hear you?
Hello.
Did you hear him? Did you hear him? I'm just watching to see if you were able to hear him. So, hope you can hear him, and if not, we will figure something out. So, all right, loud and clear. Great, thank you. So let me catch up a little bit, and thanks everybody for being flexible. And now I am Rosemary. I'm very paranoid about my alien eyes, and I'm like going, I don't usually have them, so okay, that's better. So Zane was here first. Hello, Zane, and let me get my nifty little pointer. Thank you. Jamie is here. Hello. Ange is here, and shameless plug. Ange and I are doing an I'll Show You Mine tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern, and we're talking about collage style decks. So it's certain to be an enjoyable time. Jonathan is here. Hello. And Joe is here. And Joe is so sweet. Joe's like going, hello, Gerald, or hi, Gerald, and Jeffrey's voice. So, so, and just catching up. Patrice is here. Hello, Patrice. And you get to hear Jeffrey's voice. So, say hi to Patrice.
Hi, Patrice.
Deb H is here. Thank you, Deb. Glad to see you here. Gerald and Jeffrey together. What a treat. Love you both. Thank you for joining us, Jeffrey, even if it's only your voice.
That's all you'll ever hear.
That's all you'll get, you know. Okay. And just catching up. Look at you. This is lovely. Oh, Patrice adores Jamie. Duh, who doesn't? So, Zane is back. This is cool. Mel is here. Hi, Mel. Jenna is here. Hello, Jenna. Good to see you. Robin is here. And lots of good stuff. So, just catching up. Lisa Stevens is here. Ren is here. Hello, Ren. Pepper Jackie. Heather, yes. And what's awesome is, stay tuned. Heather's coming on my channel soon. Right, Heather? Right? Ren's listening, so she won't be chatting. Rosemary is here. Hello, Rosemary. And if you have not been following Rosemary's channel, go fix that. Good Journeys Tarot. And she's looking for people who are able to join her for conversations about her 78 cards and 78 decks.
Who's the woolly hermit?
That's Mel.
Oh, hello, Mel.
Jeffrey's like going, who's Woolly Hermit? So that's Mel.
I don't recognize screen names, so
That's okay. That's why I have this. Beth is here. Hi, Beth. Oh my goodness, look at you all. So, okay, everybody's loud and clear. Okay, so we're getting caught up. Or she's here. Is Jeffrey real or are you a ventriloquist? He's real. He's definitely real. So, I heard Jeffrey and literally was starting to wonder if he existed or if he was just in your imagination. But, it's okay. I mean, and this is, it's legit. So, boom, there you go. So, and again, everybody has their choice. You don't have to come on my channel and show your face. Okay, so lovely seeing everybody in chat. Thank you. And Jane, the Secret Tarot, hello. Hi, Jane. One of these days, I'm going to get up early enough so that I can join you at your early readings. So I think that would be fun. Looking mighty fine, TarotStache. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I want to get on to... so Jeffrey and I are talking about public, private, and shared decks, the why and the how. And we had, oh yes, Heather, she's like, oh, wouldn't miss it. So, all right, let me get caught up to the end of this. No, yes, no shade here. I'm not one to ever judge somebody not showing their face, Gerald. Yeah, I get it. And Jane, maybe what I'll do is I'll actually get some sleep. I'll go to bed at a reasonable hour so that I can do that. So, anyhow, Jeffrey, tell us a little bit about your tarot journey. When did you first start studying tarot?
oh, I was looking at that when you asked me. So it's probably about less than 20 years ago, but more than 15.
Okay.
My path started when I was looking for something more because I was brought up in a very Christian household.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it just felt like there had to be more. So I talked to a lady who is now my high priestess about something more. We started a book club. We studied. What's the name of the book?
Was it Tarot for Yourself?
No.
Was it? Oh yeah.
Not Drawing Down the Moon.
Not Drawing Down the Moon.
That
The
was the
Starhawk
second one.
one.
Yes.
And by the way, I'm looking at Jeffrey, who is right there. So, I'm going to keep looking at Jeffrey because it makes me happy. So there.
Anyhow, so shortly after we started the book club, she also started offering tarot classes.
Mm-hmm.
She's very knowledgeable in her reading, and she has a large clientele. So
yes,
it's a knowledgeable person who knows what they're talking about, and I felt very comfortable taking her classes. So that's when my journey started. So right. I would guess probably 17 years ago.
Okay. And what was your first tarot deck? I'm popping this question. He does not know I'm asking.
My very first tarot deck was Arthurian Legend.
Okay.
Deck. That's about all I remember about it.
Okay.
Because I thought it'd be cool because I like Arthurian Legend.
Mm-hmm.
To mix that with the tarot. That was a bit much to start with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The next deck that I got was the new Palladini, which was much easier to learn with.
Right.
Then the first deck that actually called out to me was the Adrian Tarot.
Right. And you've had that and you really use that.
That's my personal deck. I will not read for anybody else. Nobody touches it. Nobody. It's like,
right.
That's mine.
And to be clear, Jeffrey and I are members of the same coven, and we cohabitate. And there's there's really one deck that we will share, and we'll talk about that. So a lot of times, um, I'm very fortunate. I am very, very fortunate that I am with somebody who likes tarot, enjoys tarot, and we're oftentimes gifting each other tarot decks. So, and if he for Valentine's Day he got me 3 oracle decks, which are quite lovely. So we have a couple of questions, and lots of people who. Oh, yeah. Jane the Seeker said I could stay up all night. I could, but then I wouldn't be very good for the readings. So, and Ange is like, I respect that those who don't want to share their faces. I'm grateful that anyone would want to share their space. Yes. And so, okay. So everybody, okay. So Jeffrey put his, is in chat. Well, Mel asked, have you read the Pagan Christ book? It is awesome.
I have not.
Okay.
Give me a link.
Well, okay. This is
the Pagan Christ book.
And I'm writing that down. Thank you. I mean, because, this is what I do.
I read a lot.
Yeah, Jeffrey reads a lot. And Lisa Stevens says, hello, Jeffrey. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, absolutely.
And Ren says, nice voice, and I agree. So, and with Jeffrey is there is 2 F's or there's only 1 E. So it took a while. So no second E. Beth asks, question, do you think being raised in a religious household actually lends itself to following a spiritual path, albeit pagan or tarot?
I do.
Say more about that.
I see there's lots of, when you're learning Christianity and you're reading the Bible, there's lots of mysticism in there.
Mm-hmm.
Moses talking to a burning bush,
right.
Parting the seas, chariots in the clouds, all this stuff. So I think it's a natural progression because there's got to be more than just one story. To me,
mm-hmm. Sure.
That's my personal thing.
Sure. I think for me, it was my mother and my mother's approach to her spirituality. Her spirituality was based in Catholicism, and I'm very specific. She was very spiritual in that religion, and she made it okay for me to be curious. And I've talked about that before, so I won't go into that. But I think, well, and both of our mothers were pretty awesome, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of overlap with our mothers. So, and Patrice said, I'm happy to have Jeffrey here with us. So that's a great question. And if you do have questions, please put them in caps so that I can, pop in. So, yes, we are blessed. Do you and Jeffrey read for each other? No.
On a very rare occasion.
We will read about each other with our shared deck. And I will oftentimes go, okay, here's what I'm seeing. What's your take on this? And rarely he will ask me to do the same. I think our styles complement each other very well.
Yeah.
What were you going to say about reading for each other? Anything else?
No.
Okay. We don't. I mean, we could. But Jamie says, TarotStache, I always appreciate hearing Jeffrey's view of cards we are going over. Yes. Yes.
Oh, thank you.
So, yeah. Oh, thanks, Jamie. And Jamie linked it above too for you.
Oh, thank you.
So, and everybody's appreciating that. You guys will love my house with overstuffed bookshelves in every room.
I might be overloaded.
Well, this is the interesting thing. Both of us have similar traits. I am an extrovert. Surprise. I know, everybody's surprised. Jeffrey is an introvert. And once we figured out how that works, it works beautifully. But I really, really like to acquire. I'm good at finding things because he did this past Yule get another copy of the Adrian
Yes.
as a backup. So I'm good at manifesting and finding things. So you want to know me, you know. So, so, um, but yeah, I agree with you and my leading question. Great. I was raised Jewish, but open and studied as many religions, myths, cultures as I could, Jonathan said. Mel said, I highly recommend The Pagan Christ to you. It links all of the religions back to Egypt and Horus and Isis. I think you will enjoy it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you use tarot to solve problems in the relationship? What problems in the relationship? What problems in the relationship? But seriously, um, what, go ahead. I mean,
I think we know what each other's boundaries are. I think, and that's a big part of of a good relationship. I think, for me, if I've had a bad day, I come home, I say, Gerald, it's been a really rough day. I really can't take on anymore. And he respects that and he lets me have my space.
mm-hmm.
And then once I decompress, we can talk.
Well, and that is a really wonderful gift since we're similar, but I am an extrovert, so I need to process out loud, and he is an introvert, and he's the guy who I would ask him a question, and he's not saying anything, and I'm like, going, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm thinking about what you asked, and I'm like, okay, that's all I needed. And then 2 days later, he will finish that thought about the question that I asked, and so it's wonderful. I would say, what we do is we will, when we read using our shared deck, we craft the question about how each of us brings something to this third thing that we have. So because there's Jeffrey, there's me, and then there's our relationship. So what can we do to support each other? I think that's a fair thing, right?
I would say if there were an issue, I I probably would. I'm like, hey Gerald, let's look at this. Let's look at, what can the cards tell us about how to get over this hump or to get through this.
Yeah, I agree.
And I can do that on my own, and he can do it on his own. But it's nice to know how we can work through something together.
Right. Yes.
That's just going to strengthen the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
If we can do it together instead of me doing my part, him doing his part. Well, that's great as an individual path, but how does that move us along as a couple?
Right. Right. Ange asks, what does Jeffrey think of having a tarot tubing spouse?
Doesn't bother me at all. That's his thing.
He's the one who bought that. He's the one who bought me this. He's the one who bought me the backdrop. So he's very supportive. So he does oftentimes not care to know what's going on, because it's like my work and his work, they're different, but sometimes you need to talk about it. And so, is that fair?
That's fair.
Yeah. Jeffrey does have a wonderful voice, Mel. Yes, we are, to bounce ideas off of. So, Robin asked, do you both journal?
I do.
I I used to do a lot of writing, and some of the concepts would come out in that writing, but I haven't been doing that very often. So, anything else?
That's it.
Okay.
I'm a man of few words. Like, yes, yes, I do. Not probably as much as I don't journal as much as I used to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would have a dream journal, a tarot journal, this journal, that journal. This person made me angry today journal.
Yeah. So, did you see the comment on the screen?
Oh, thank you, Patrice.
Oh, yep. Where did you get the idea to share a deck? Okay. Let me catch up with chat, and then I will go back to that, Robin. Yes, understanding boundaries and styles and communication, it's like perfect. Um, so you're welcome, Orshi. Good self-awareness is so helpful in a relationship. Gerald, I am you, and Vernetta is like Jeffrey in our relationship. It works because we are both self-aware and self-responsible. Yeah, yeah. Um, um, no, no, but I was studying to become a member of the coven.
Are you answering She Walks in Beauty?
Yes. So, and I was
I
gonna
don't care.
I was gonna tell the story of when I first met you.
That's
when I
fine.
first met you. Okay. So when I first met Jeffrey, I saw him. We had just finished a class, one of them initiate classes, and he walked in, and I gave him the. I thought it was obvious. It was the ooh, and he because they were meeting afterwards. They were doing ritual. They were having a circle, and I had asked the high priestess, or high priestess, I'm like, is he single and available? And she says, well, I believe so. And I'm like, okay. And it took 5 years for both of us to be in the space that we could actually start seeing each other in that way. Well, for him to start seeing us in that way.
Yeah.
And he taught classes, and which and I took the classes, and you taught the timing classes, which was about the Sabbats. Do you want to say anything else about that?
Just Sabbats and S-bats, and it's something that I really like. The Wheel of the Year, the timing of everything. It's like, to me, it's important.
And it's important to me, so we shared that, and it's great. And in fact, okay, that's not that book. I have a big notebook with the notes that he gave us, but I also added different extra things to it. So, but Pepper Jackie is like, Gerald is hot for teacher. Link. Yeah. Well, or it's all good. It's all good. So
I just have to say, subtlety is lost on me. It's like I had no idea. I was totally oblivious. I was doing my thing. That's it.
Yeah. Well, and we've talked about it,
Yeah.
so it all worked out. So, okay. So please continue to ask the questions. I mean, these are amazingly good questions. So thank you. And so we called this public, private, and shared decks. Yes, Deb said everything worth having is worth waiting for. Mm-hmm. So, and Jeffrey's from Ohio, and Jenna said I have a whole collection of Sabbath books. So,
I've got lots of books and notes and stuff on Sabbats and S-bats and all that stuff too.
mm-hmm.
That's how that's the first thing I taught them in their class, is you kind of have to glean out what works for you, because every book that you read is going to have a slightly different take. So you've got to make something work for you, for what you have, for what you're feeling, what you're going to go with.
Right. Yeah. I'm not, Jonathan. I have it starred. Thank you. So, okay. So, so the idea of public decks, private decks, and shared decks. Public decks are decks that they're for your general use and general consumption. You read them, you read with them for everyone. You and it's one that is sort of your go-to. If you're doing readings for people, it's one that you would grab and you're okay with it. Now, something public decks, and everybody has their boundaries about how they deal with decks, because some are public decks, but you don't allow anybody else to touch them, and there's no problem with that. So I think that's I think that's okay. So, do you have any comments about public decks?
Yeah, for me, a public deck has to be something that you're okay with other people touching. You know, if they were to accidentally, tap on the card and it's like, what's this one all about? You can't, I can't freak out about it.
Right.
It's like, I've got to be totally comfortable with somebody else touching the deck. Not that I'm necessarily going to let them shuffle it and everything, but sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But that's my criteria for a public deck.
Mm-hmm. And I would say most of my decks I would call them public. I don't mind taking them out. And, the rule that I learned, and I'm so grateful for this when my high priestess said it, is never touch a deck without someone's permission. So if I hand somebody a deck, and actually that would be like, lesson 1 is never touch somebody's tarot deck unless they give you permission. So, um, Jamie said, by Jeffrey's definition, I have no public decks, no touchy, touche. So, um, so yeah, and so I am okay with sometimes, and actually, I actually, when I first started, I wanted people to shuffle my decks because I wanted to pull their energy into it and to be able to build that energy around it. So, and that's good. So, private decks. What's your definition of a private deck, Jeffrey?
Private decks. Well, private deck is something just for me that has a specific message, that has a specific purpose, and I don't mind necessarily if I'm going to share it. Like sometimes I'll read with my private decks in a group setting on air. It's like I don't mind sharing the images and I don't mind doing that, but you're not going to touch it.
Yeah. And for me, my private decks are things for me, because I have a private deck for my magical practice. I have a magic deck for my spiritual practice. I have a private deck for my interaction with my home. And so there's a lot of reasons that you can have a private deck. And I think it's important that when you have a private deck, you keep it private. I actually, and yes, I have multiple copies of decks. I have a private copy of the Wild Unknown that is for me. It's only for me, and I have public copies of that deck that is for things that I can use with other people.
I would have to say a lot of times I'll interview the deck to find out what its message is.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll help me decide, is that a message for me or is that a message I can share? And the cards will tell you that.
Uh-huh. She Walks in Beauty said, yes, Moon Void Tarot is my personal private deck. And lots of wonderful conversation in the chat, so thank you. I'm sitting in the car in the laundromat, and a bee almost flew in, hovering right next to my face. They scare me. Well, I am glad you're okay, but I would also look up the spirit animal totem for that because I'm curious. So, I see Deanne is here. There she is. Okay. Hi, Deanne. So, I haven't read publicly to people yet, but I'm not sure I'd want anyone touching my decks. And cool, then don't.
Then don't. Yeah, absolutely
So,
not. The I participated in a couple of um, public reading forums
mm-hmm.
where my high priestess, like, you're a good, intuitive, concise reader. You should try this. And so I did, and it was open to the general public. So I had to find decks that I was going to be okay with putting out there for the general public, which was very uncomfortable for me because up to that point, everything was like mine, 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 mine.
Sure. Yeah. Jamie said, oh, that was my question. If you did deck interviews.
I do.
Yeah. Maybe later we can talk about what you have done for your deck interviews. Regina's Tarot and Wirecraft is here. Hello. Happy belated birthday, Regina. Jane the Seeker said, my personal deck is the Light Seers Tarot. I just got it. It's amazing. Yeah. I've never done a deck interview spread. Any recommendations on it? Expecting Second Nature Tarot tomorrow, finally. Ronnie is here. Hi, Ronnie. So, do you want to talk about that quickly? Can you do that?
What?
I was going to say we were going to do that later, the deck interview. Hold that thought. We'll do something into it. Interest stories to a new deck. Special romance going on with tarot, texture tarot. It's so private, just for me, no share, not even with my girlfriends that I read for. Yeah, and I think it's fine. Zane said, if I'm going to be reading around other people, I always make sure it's a deck I don't mind others touching, because it's inevitable that someone will just reach out and put their hands on them.
Yeah, without even necessarily thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I've got to be okay with that.
Yeah. I know that people have private decks near lakes for their boats, Gerald. Oh, I get it. Oh. Is that like the slip and all that stuff? Oh, Ron. Oh, that was funny. Okay.
But
Yeah. Okay, so will Jeffrey read cards with you in this space at some point? I don't know. He is oftentimes not here when I am doing lives. So, wow, you all are asking wonderful questions, and there's lots of chat. I used Crystal Tarot by Philip Permut as my main public deck in the shop, and then would slowly add in others for clients as I felt called to. True Black, Fountain, Crystal Visions, Wild Unknown. Yeah.
So here's a question for the group. What makes a good public deck?
Ooh. Jeffrey wants to know what makes a good public deck. So I will also say that uh, thinking about private decks and public decks, the deck spread, the interview spread really helps with that, in determining that. But there's also decks that are dedicated to a specific type of reading.
Yeah.
And those can also be private decks or public decks. It's like, okay, if somebody asked me for a reading about love or romance, I know, shock, people asking about love and romance for a tarot reading, or things like money. It's I do have those dedicated decks for that type of reading, and that comes out in the interview a lot of times.
It
So
does.
okay, so
And you can have dedicated decks that are private too.
yes, yeah, okay, so Ronnie said, I think more clear pictures and more meaningful messages. Yes. Donna said, a good public deck equal mass market imprint. Okay. Yes. Yeah, because some of these indie decks, like Jenna, you have a lot of indie decks, and you don't want somebody spilling a cup of coffee on your $200 deck. So Jane the Seeker said, one that is very clear pictures so that other people can read the story.
Yeah.
Mhm. Or she said, for me, something that has obvious imagery so non-tarot people don't focus on trying to figure out the meaning instead of listening to the reading.
Right.
Pepper, I got that question starred. My
So,
pup.
so there are. So sometime a pip deck is just as good though.
Mhm. Depends
Uh,
upon where you're reading.
yeah. It's like they're not focusing on the energy because all they see are, 5 swords.
Right, right. My public deck is Mermaid Tarot. I don't know why. Feel it can be gentle, but also deliver deep messages, and kind of told me it's my public deck. I I think that's perfect, and that is an important thing for us as readers, that we pay attention to the energy of the deck and how it wants to be used. Because if you've ever tried to use a deck for something that it doesn't want to be used for, I don't know about you, but it doesn't work out well for me. So um okay. Okay, Beth said, good public deck. I look for decks that I assume aren't too much for people I don't know. I wouldn't grab a dark witchy deck with someone I don't know. For example, I want them to feel comfortable.
That's a very good point.
Yeah. Robin said, a good public deck is one that's accessible to a client both intellectually and physically. Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
So, when I picked up Crystal Tarot off the shelf, a voice in my head said, "This is for you to read for people in public." And this was before I knew I even wanted to read in public. That's from Deanne. Oh yeah. So Mel said, for oracles, the numbers have to match the card, words, and pictures too. Yeah, yeah. Um, and Deanne said her main deck is a pip deck. Jane, I also don't like to read. I don't like to read sugarcoat my readings, and I tell it like it is. And I like to think that I can hold space so people can hear that. Um, Pip deck. Oh, I'll let others answer that. Hi, Juno. Glad to see you. Thank you. Jamie says, I no longer do public readings. For friends, family, it would be an illustrated deck so they can follow the story without worrying about numerology and things. Yep. I've had an idea of which deck to use for a client, and another deck will call out, no, girl, grab me for this one. Yep. Yeah. I mean, and that works really well. I think for me, a good public deck is one where people can see themselves in the deck, and it's probably, I would say it's RWS adjacent, because that's what most people are used to seeing in the media. But sometimes, I'll be honest with you, sometimes I actually like to use a deck that people are not familiar with because I want to get them out of their expectations. They think they know what they want, but
Yeah.
in fact, you know, they don't. So, um, okay, so we've talked about public decks, we've talked about private decks, uh, and shared decks. So, the idea of a shared deck is I first did this with my friend um, Trixie and my other friend Jeff, who we use the Robin Wood. Everybody has heard me talk about the Robin Wood Tarot.
That
And
Jeff is not me.
that, yeah, that's Jeffrey. That's Jeffrey. And so, um, okay, so, oh yeah, Flowing said, Jane the Seeker, honesty is greatly appreciated. Yep. I am absolutely certain that I have missed a lot of great comments, so my apologies. But the idea of a shared deck is it was a great way. We were friends, and we thought, wouldn't it be fun to each of us work with a brand new deck, one that was not owned before. We work with it for a specific period of time with the intention of learning it and sharing the energy with the others. And so what we did is we got a brand new copy of the Robin Wood Tarot. I bought mine from Robin Wood. You all know that. And so we worked with it for a full lunar cycle. So I believe we started it on a new moon. We started that study. And so for that 28 days until the next new moon, we worked with it. We slept with it. We put it under our pillow. I carried it around everywhere. I laid all of the cards out and I was looking at them and trying to see the story that they would tell. So I was really putting a lot of energy into learning it. And then we came together in a sacred space. We cast a bit of a circle. We set our intentions with combining all of these three decks. We did that. We did a laying on of, well, we did energy work with them, cast a spell, whatever you want. And then we each went through and picked out cards for our 78. So my 78 deck, oh, Jeffrey's saying something.
So you put them all in a big pile and mixed them together.
Yes, after we did that, after we worked with them for a year, we came in, we created a safe and sacred space, and we did a big wash of them, all decks. So 78 times 3 is 204, yeah, a bunch of cards. So, and so we washed them all together, and then we did some more. 244. He's like 244.
I think.
Of course, he's getting his, But anyhow, so we mixed them all together, and we kept our intention on the whole goal of that.
234.
234, he said. So,
234 cards in a pile.
234 cards in a pile, and then we went through and we were actually each creating our own deck from all of those cards mixed together. And so my Robin Wood Tarot is that combined energy. It's that shared energy, and it's wonderful. And I was talking to Trixie recently, and what was interesting, for the first 3 years we had the decks, we could actually tell whose card we had just because of the way it was talking to us. And of course, we did actually readings. We did combined readings together, a lot of times. Okay, that's a lot of words. Do you have anything to say to that while I take a drink of water?
No.
Okay.
Drink fast.
So, Jonathan said 234. That's a magic number.
234 sequence.
234. I need a Jane. You have a human like me now. Mm-hmm. So it was random. You could conceivably have drawn all of your own cards back out of the pile. Yes, we could have, but we knew we didn't. So, Donna, it really was a lovely thing to do. And I treasure that. And in fact, when I was on with, for a conversation with Julie of Peekaboo Rose, she asked that random questions like if you could have only, if you had to give up one thing forever, would it be my mustache or my Robin Wood tarot? And my answer was, oh, should I tell them or should I make them go find the video? My answer was I would give up my mustache because of the Robin Wood. I could never duplicate that. It's so powerful for me. Silky's here. Hi, Silky. The cards have become like imaginary friends for me, someone to communicate with back and forth. I really enjoy the wisdom they share with me. Do you know that is a beautiful way to look at it? I love that. Hi, Sharon. So, okay. So that was my first shared deck. And then when Jeffrey and I were
skip forward
a bunch of years. And Jeffrey and I were dating, and we know it's getting serious. And so was it me or you who suggested, what would you be interested in creating a couple deck?
That was you.
Okay, so it was me. And so we each bought a copy of Tarot Illuminati, the Eric C. Dunn, right there. And we went through a similar experience, right?
Yep.
Say a little bit more. I'm talking a lot. People want to hear your voice and your laughter. So
it was the same thing, you know. We did work with it for a while.
It was at least
shuffled and read, and I interviewed, and it's like, is this a good deck for us to combine our energies?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the answer was yes. So.
Yep. Yeah.
And
yeah.
So we created our little sacred space, you know, and threw all the cards out there on the table, like kind of like a relationship, really.
Yeah.
Put your cards on the table.
Silky, is this the one you're talking about? Tarot Illuminati? Could someone type that in for Silky? Well, do you want to tell them where we did that? We did that at the Mexican restaurant.
Yeah.
So if you okay, so here's the funny thing is, you know, we're both witches. And so what's cool is, we were actually at a restaurant, and we told the server, you know, we're going to be working on something, and just, you know, we just sort of want to be left alone. So we had our meal, and we talked about what we were doing. And then, thank you, Flowing. And then we sort of created
She came and wiped our table down.
She came and wiped our table down. This woman knew exactly what we were doing, something important. Came and wiped our table down, and then pretty much we had a little bubble around us while we did this. No one bothered us. No one even walked past the table. It was really, really amazing. So Patricia said, Jeffrey sounds like my BFF's Jim's husband, Bill. So looks like you did. So yeah, that's adding salsa to the mix. Yes, it is. That's that. There you go. So, and so we actually used that deck. I mean, we created it, we mixed it, so it's a shared deck.
It's a shared deck, and we did a reading that night.
We did with it. Yep. And I actually have a specific journal. I know, surprise. I have a specific journal for readings with that deck. So, and it's lovely. So, anything else you want to add? Because I have 12 starred comments, and I would like to just get through them.
Yep.
So some of them I've already answered. Robin asked, where did you get the idea to share a deck? It just sort of happened. I don't, other than when I was talking with um, Trixie and Jeff, it's sort of, it's one of those things that, it's one of those late night things that happen when you're, hanging out with friends, and some of us have been drinking, some of us haven't. And it's like, wouldn't it be cool if, what would happen if you
What
mix
would
the
happen
energy?
if, yeah.
What would happen if? So, or she asked, did Jeffrey gift you a deck you designated a private deck? Nothing comes to mind, or she. Does anything come to mind for you?
No.
Are you sure?
I don't know. I mean, that's something I can't answer that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Pepper's asked this twice. Actually, twice or three times. Three times. Pepper has been wants us to answer this question. Pepper,
Okay.
are you listening? Do you both have a card where you both have a completely different meaning for?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Sometimes, and I'm sure it's vice versa, but I can only look at it from my standpoint that if Gerald is reading, I'm like, well, what about if this was this? Sometimes I see a different aspect of the card
Mm-hmm.
and the way it fits into the reading.
Mm-hmm.
Then I do that a lot. Quite honestly, I do that a lot. I'm like, well, or it could mean.
Yeah. And so Pepper, the short answer to your question is sometimes, because sometimes I get into the weeds and I overcomplicate things, and hashtag overcomplicator, or and you I just need somebody else to go, well, what about this? Which is basically, you have to carry these 10 of wands out to the garbage so that you can make space to it. So, because sometimes a card is really obvious, and I would actually get confused by that. So,
I never intentionally interfere if he's reading, but if he has that look, there's a certain look. I'm like, well, what about?
yeah,
And maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. He can reject the idea. He's reading.
yeah. Okay, so I've lost a whole bunch of the live chat. So yeah, the concept of a shared deck is amazing. Kathleen J. Lightworker Tarot is here. Hello, Kathleen. And Greeter is here. Greeter TK, Teresa, hi. And the best ideas are the ones that just happen. Ooh, thanks, Juno. The screen says you have 444 subscribers. Yeah. So it was organic process of the decks. Yeah, because when I first did the shared deck, um, we didn't we sat down together. It's like posing a really good question for tarot. You need to ask the right question, and so together the three of us talked about exactly how we were going to combine them. So, um, so okay, just sitting. Tony is here. Hello, Tony. Yes, smooth voice. And by the way, shameless plug, since Tony is in the house, Tony and Amy from Mystic Rose Tarot next Monday are doing the Barbara Walker deck casual. So there you go. And so make sure you like and subscribe. I'm looking forward to that. Tony, I emailed you. I hope you got it. So it's important to meet people where they are at. Yes. Teresa. Hi, Teresa. Okay, going back to, is there any, what?
I'm looking at Antoinette.
What did Antoinette say?
She said, now we know you are really real.
Yes. Robin asks, is there anything you can say about covens without revealing anything private? Covens are a group of people with a shared purpose, and every coven has a different focus and a different feel to it. And when one is exploring, coven sometimes has a bad rap. It has
Has a
bad
bad connotation.
Yeah.
Think Three of Cups. It's the like mind, the shared ideals,
Yep.
where you can bounce ideas off of each other, and somebody is always there to make sure you're not getting yourself into trouble.
Yes. Yes. And I know there was a question. I think Mel was asking, where would you find a coven near me? There were a few people who put some comments in, and I think part of it is just, do you have a metaphysical shop around you? That's a great way to do it. Sometimes Facebook will help. So
you've got you've got to make sure that it's people that you can work with, and you've got to do it in the spirit of perfect love and perfect trust.
yes.
There's no way around it.
Right.
If you can't trust these people, or you can't love them unconditionally, then it's probably not the right group for you.
Exactly.
If you go to one of their meetings, if they have something that's open, we have one open ritual a year where we can invite friends or people
Mhm.
with that are curious and stuff. We can invite them in.
Right.
If they don't like what we're doing, or they don't agree with something, then it's not the right group for them.
Right. Right. And I will be honest with you, the group that I am involved, or that we are involved with, we're not recruiting members.
No.
You actually have to be pretty assertive in expressing your interest and why. So I hope that helps, Robin. I hope that helps. I appreciate the question. Okay. Like a book of shadows, creating your own, do you feel readers could benefit from creating at least one of their own to use, their own deck?
Probably, because they'll mean something more to you.
Yeah.
Individually, but I find that a lot of decks, I would probably be gleaming from a bunch of different decks. If I were totally honest with you, I would be stealing ideas.
Right.
The Five of Wands in the Tarot Illuminati is one of my favorite depictions of the Five of Wands. I think it is absolutely beautiful, and it just looks like the energy exchange, the struggle, it's, so I would want to have something similar. I couldn't steal that because it doesn't belong to me,
Right.
but I would want to use that idea. It's the colors, it's the motion. It just speaks volumes to me. So if I were doing a private deck, I would or making a deck, it would be probably gleaming ideas from everybody else. I also like
Right.
the Zany Tarot's Eight of Wands. It's one of the most cleverest ways to depict the Eight of Wands that I found in a long time. I'm like, how fantastic is that?
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's a great question, Heather. And I believe for people who were in the Golden Dawn, I believe one of the things that they had to do was to create a tarot deck. And what a great way to learn all of the decks. Hashtag 78 cards in 78 weeks. Rosemary, Good Journeys Tarot is doing that. Talk about the deck creators in the house. I know Robin is here, who has created decks. I know Zane is here, created decks. I'm probably sure. Who else am I missing in the chat who has created tarot decks? So, and you know, and Rosemary's doing it. So I think it's one of those things that, yeah, the more time and attention you spend on something,
the more it's going to mean to
the
you.
more it's many. How many are in your coven? We have
Right now, 11.
no, we have
No.
9.
9, but we've got 4 more.
Four who are 4 who are going through the process.
So we'll have a nice 13.
Initiating. So we'll have what, 13?
13.
We'll have 13. I'm looking for the 5 of. I'm not going to be able to find the 5. So I'm so grateful for all of your questions.
Can I look at it?
Oh, yes. Jeffrey's just going to look for us. So catching up. I was not looking for a coven. It came my way. Yeah, and that could happen. Tony said, I think the Illuminati, I get the Illuminati in a couple of months with my tarot subscription. Looking forward to that. So
the colors are beautiful.
Yeah, the colors are beautiful. And Ben is here. OMG, I just tuned in and thought your voice had changed. Not complaining, mind. So, several books on tarot. This is great.
There you go.
Okay. So here is the 5 of Wands in the Illuminati tarot. And see, and that's the thing that is different, slightly different for the two of us, is when it comes to the 5 of Wands, we see it in energy exchange, not just necessarily conflict. So, and oh, Juno said, I've got 2 decks I'm working on creating.
Nice.
I want to create at least several. Nice. There's the Zany Tarot. Oh, chat just jumped. Somebody's daughter is creating a deck. So, Patricia said my daughter's creating a deck for her own use. And there's another building relationship. There's Orshie's created oracle decks. Jonathan said I'm working my way up to tarot, but I'm just finishing the Hawaiian Lenormand. I'm waiting for my demo copy to come in from Make Playing Cards. Excellent. So,
I'm excited about that, Jonathan.
yeah, and I should be my order for Make Playing Cards, which has got Robin's some of Robin's decks in it, should be showing up soon. So, oh, Robin asked Orshi, will you create a tarot? Thank you, Jamie. Jamie is putting all of these links in, and I am I really appreciate that. Oh, I'm interested in a live, by the way. Trying to get caught up in life stuff. Yeah. So, oh, Beth just ordered the lovely Ohm Tarot. Ben made me do it. So, okay. So, I've had a bad experience with the coven. My advice is to make sure it fits you, and never give up your boundaries. Exactly. That is wise advice. Yeah. That is wise advice.
Very sagely advice.
Yeah. Julianne Victoria is here. Hello, Julianne Victoria. So, okay. So I think I have one more. Robin actually said, I like the idea, but I'm intrigued by other potential methods for combining 2 decks. I think that's the cool thing about it, is you could. There's lots of different ways you could combine the decks. I mean, you could actually take each of the cards, each of the decks, and give them to the other people after you've worked with it. So everybody has actually worked with the deck that you are combining. So every single deck has that energy. And I mean, there's lots of ways to do that. So I think that's brilliant. So,
there's no rules. There's no right or wrong way to do it.
Right.
Well, there may be some more wrong than right, but
Yeah. And so the other thing is um there's also that dedicated deck, and we actually in the coven, I can share this, I think. We actually use the Goddess Tarot. This is part of what we do is we do readings, and the Goddess Tarot, this is not the one that's for the coven, but it has that energy from all of those previous times that we've read together, and that's wonderful. So this is my copy of that coven deck, which as I like to say, because it has an association with that, it brings some of the energy. So, oh, Jane said that was one of my very first deck. What are some of your favorite ways to modify a deck? Deb H asked. Oh, Mama Bear's here. Hi, Mama Bear. What are some of you've never modded a deck?
I don't modify a deck.
Okay, and by the way, for those of you who cannot see Jeffrey's face, which is all of you, he's like, I don't modify a deck. I do. I'll trim it.
Kudos to those who do. There's nothing I'm not for me.
You don't want to. You don't need to.
I don't want to.
Yeah. So, okay. Jane the Seeker said, my oldest deck is the Hanson Roberts from the 80s. Oh, okay. So for me, my favorite way to mod a deck is just to trim it with a guillotine. And then I like to edge it. And it gives me great satisfaction to use a corner rounder on a deck. Go figure. Okay. Okay, so I got that. Mel said, thank you, Jeffrey, for coming on with Gerald today. It was great to hear you. So I have a combined 2 different decks done by some author and artist, and I get much better reads. The Thelema and Arcana. Sandra's here. Hi, Sandra. Jane the Secret is with you. She would not modify a deck. So is Joe.
Yeah, I'm very visual. So if the deck is speaking to me for me to buy it, there's a reason it speaks to me, and some people don't like the extra borders and stuff. I get it. I understand. I appreciate that, but I can't do it. Especially, and I'm a big backside of the card thing. If it messes with the backside of the card, no way.
Okay. And by the way, I have trimmed decks and it has messed up the back, and because I only read the front of the cards. So Ben says Jeffrey sounds like a famous actor. Tony has asked, has anyone figured out a way to create a sparkly edge? No. However, Richie at Longman Tarot, he does something that has it's a beautiful edging, where he puts a color down and then he puts a metallic on top of it. I don't know what that's called. And I know Richie is probably recovering from his first day back at school, so I do not know. So,
Whispering Wall.
What did she say?
No, I just noticed.
That's Sandra. Okay. Lovely Sandra. I agree with Jeffrey. For me, deck modding feels like it changes the energy and intent of the creator, but do what you want to do. Yeah, and for me, I'm actually going to. It's my deck, and part of the reason I mod a deck is to have that connection to it. It's like, for me, controversial or whatever, I like to have a connection to the deck, and it's like putting a frame around a signed piece of artwork. that doesn't come framed. So I want to frame it in the way that works for me. So Robin says, I love corner rounding more than trimming my nails. I just picture you, Robin, like at your house, like Nosferatu, with really, really long fingernails. I think that would make it hard to shuffle, you know. just saying. So, but yeah. Make playing cards, gilding comes out sparkly. Ooh, Julianne Victoria. That's cool. Richie has sparkly everything, including Megan's. And Orshi says, I mod so I can use. And I get that. Yeah, Jane, I started to hear about modding decks recently. And in fact, one of the decks that I want to mod is this, my next deck I want to mod is, I think, the Goddess Tarot. And Jeffrey's like, that's okay. You know. Now, the other thing is modding decks can bring me closer to the deck. Yes. So, oh, that's a good idea, Ben. Robin, maybe you should trim your nails with a corner rounder. There you go. And for those of you who get it, thoroughly modding Millie. Now, if I had normal size hands, I wouldn't need a deck. And by the way, Jamie is watching, so I'm not going to get my tiny hands out for that. So, speaking of Jamie, there are, there's also there's private dedicated decks, and some of you are tuning in for back and forth with Jamie and Gerald, and Jamie, Wandering Mountain Bardic Path, and I. When we first met, we felt we had a connection together, and we were having a reading with Jonathan Daly about past lives as that crossed over. And so this Star Seeker Tarot copy she perks up, is the one that, gosh, I think we scheduled a reading with Jonathan about this past lives and how we're connected and that connection. And we both had this copy. We both had a deck, and it was like, okay, we're going to use this. And so this is my Jamie and Gerald deck. So it could be my Wandering Mage deck. So it's perfectly acceptable to, if you have, it's like, I know people who have specific decks that they read just for each of their children, because that's the connection to them. So anything you want to add to that, Jamie? So we had Mama Bear. Can anyone tell me what modding deck means? Sorry, I came in late.
There's
a couple of responses. Modifying, getting rid of borders, edging them, etc. This is great. Removing borders, edging in a color. It's when you trim the edges, color the edges, and change the deck somehow. It could be trimming the deck with scissors or a guillotine, remove the borders or just make smaller, edging the deck with markers or ink, rounding the corners, adding words, etc. Yeah, and Jonathan actually has a Star Seeker deck, and it's the Gerald and Jamie deck. So, yeah, Wandering Mage does sound like a good deck, doesn't it? You're welcome. Hey, Justin Michaels here. Hi, Justin. On your way to work. I hope you have a good day at work. So,
on President's Day?
On President's Day. Well, he's he helps somebody and helps make their life better.
Well, that's important.
Yes. Yeah, and Jamie said, nope, other than I usually only use Star Seeker for deep shit. Yeah, because it tends to be pretty deep. And I have a deck I love, but I can't manage because it was too big and too glossy. I took off the borders, round in the corners so I can shuffle them. And yes, sometimes you can, in modding a deck, and Boho Tarot actually has painted her Druid craft, put paint on it. So it's a way to customize a deck and to make it yours. So, Calla Lily's here. Hi, Calla Lily. I have a very large deck. Juno said I have a very large deck that I am writing additional info on it so that I can learn the correlations. I love that. Now, that being said, I have a miniature version of this, and so the thing I don't like about this deck is because it's hard to sometimes read the font. So on this one, I've actually pulled out the cards where I can't read the font, and it's my deck. I'm gonna use a Sharpie. I'm gonna write on it. So, but all right, we're just finishing up. So if anybody has additional questions about public, private, or shared decks, or other questions for Jeffry, please please let us know. And I have
painting fig leaves on the nudes.
What? Painting fig leaves on. Some people do that because they don't want nudity in their decks, and I'm like, going, great, do it. So, and Juno said, I tell the deck what I'm doing, and I let it know what I'm doing, and that it is out of respect and desire to learn deeper meanings.
Beautiful.
That's great. I love that. So, oh, circle punching. Deanne, Blue Crescent Tarot, and the ongoing hole punching, which is absolutely wonderful. And I didn't buy my hole punches, Deanne, because I don't know any decks that I want to hole punch yet. So, okay, so Jeffry, 1E, Ben, 1E.
No second E.
No second E. I'm being a smart ass, Ben. Do you have a favorite deck you use together? Well, yes. It is our relationship deck, the Illuminati Tarot. So, do you have other decks that, we have, see, here's the thing, and I've said this before, we don't share decks. We just don't, because what's mine is mine. Well, actually, how do you say it? What's his is his, what's mine is his. No, just kidding.
Not when it comes to decks.
No, yeah. But we have similar interest in decks, but not the same.
Sometimes the purpose for the deck is different for both of us.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I have a second copy of the Illuminati Tarot that I use for general readings with other people.
Yes.
Just because I like the images and the colors, and I think it's easy for people to see themselves in.
Yeah.
And it's easy for them to glean an understanding. But I would never use my relationship deck for a public reading.
Right.
That's a big no-no for me.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll get a second copy of the deck. And my second copy of the Illuminati is just the deck, not the book, the whole thing. And that's not nearly as nice, I don't think. But it works.
Yeah. And I think that's, that's part of the fun of it. So, okay, I want to catch up. I'm kidding, Ben, right? So Autumn draws clothes on her decks. I let my decks all hang out. Yep. So yes, it's Jeffry. It's Jeffrey's voice. Juno said, I got a deck from builders of the ATM that I colored in myself. I do. Yeah, it really enhances and understands. Yeah, there's a challenge for anyone. Buy a deck you dislike and see if you can circle punch it into a deck you love. And thanks for the kind words. Totally stole the idea from Veronica Jude. Okay, Veronica Jude started this hole punching idea. So you could play Go Fish with 2 shared decks, or keep the majors, swap out the minors. Tony said, I have extended the dress on Queen of Wands and Shimmering Veil, and the dress on a cone card in Witch's Wisdom to cover the tarantula's butt. Hey. So, yeah, your energy will be in your decks, and Jeffrey energy will be in his, so it's hard to share. So, yeah. So, okay. The relationship deck probably would call you out, Jeffrey, if you accidentally grabbed it for a public reading.
It wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work.
It wouldn't. Yeah. And actually, we keep them close to each other.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of nice. So, so anyhow, okay. Any last minute thoughts about? Well, you had an idea about dedicated decks, and with the Coven of 11. You talk about that.
I just thought the idea of you have a group of 5 friends. The mixing of the decks could be a lovely way to feel like you're in touch with them when you can't be in touch with them. So I find the idea of combining decks quite lovely, actually. If it's with somebody again that you have that bond with. There's a special bond.
You're not talking.
I'm not talking. I stopped.
He stopped. Sorry, everybody.
End of sentence.
End of sentence. Okay.
I say what I say, and that's all I've got to say about that.
That's exactly right. Well, is there any way to tell the boxes apart? Yes. Because I usually mark over the UP code or UPC code. So he's going to get one so that he could do it. So TarotStache, working with the double deck, then sharing a deck with each other, each of you is beautiful. Yeah, Calla Lily, and it's one of those things that we worked with our individual, individual copy of the deck. We did a wash of them, and then each of us pulled out a single deck from that mash of the 234 cards. So it's combined energy, and it's really, really wonderful. So, but yeah. So if anybody actually, if anybody actually does create a shared deck like this, I would totally love to know. And if you feel like, doing some other video content to this, it would be great. Now, while Jeffrey is getting his thing, I'm going to update you on a couple of things that are coming up. Deck Casual next Monday, 2 p.m. with Tony and Amy doing the Barbara Walker Tarot. And so, okay. So Jeffrey shared. See, we have differences. You can tell whose is whose. We put our initials there.
And that's my public one.
And that's his public deck, his public version of that. So, and he has
worn.
It's well worn, yeah. So that it just happens. So
You can leave whatever they can be together.
they can be together, and I love it. And Jane is like, I love this TED deck talk. Thank you. Now later today, I am having 3 of Cups Eclectic Tarot Danielle on for a hashtag 5 decks for a 10-day quarantine. And that's tonight at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard, which is 10:30 or 2:30 Pacific. So, and then I got that. You're welcome, Silky. You're welcome, Juno. You're welcome, Orshi. It has been great. Thank you. Nice to hear from you both, Gerald and Jeffrey. And I would, you know, if we get a good topic that I might be able to get him involved with, perhaps we could arrange it. So, and by the way, so this past Saturday at 1 o'clock on Peekaboo Rose's channel, I was on Three Girls One Deck, where I talked about the 5 cent, the 5 cent tarot and the 2 penny oracle. And I've been in contact with Rick, who watched it. And so if you go to Motel Gift Shop on Etsy and you tell him Gerald sent you, you won't get anything, but again, you'll just get, it'll be just a giggle. So you know, I'd love to know if anybody got the deck. So so tonight, tomorrow, and next Monday, there's that. So, and Travel Tarot got here at the time it ends. I'll check the replay. Thank you. Thanks, Kay. Appreciate it. And you should get those fancy world clocks in the background of your live stream. Your live. Oh, I love that. I love it. Your live, you know, it's well traveled. So, well, everyone, thank you so very much as we talked about public, private, and shared decks. And stay tuned. I will be working with Starla to get our readings rescheduled. So, Jonathan, I already did one of those.
Do another one.
Do another one. Oh my gosh. So
I love this deck. So
yeah.
Jonathan, I'm all for a second.
Oh my gosh. So all right.
Different insight.
Different insight. Yes. And so, but anyhow. All right, everyone, thank you so very much for joining. And I hope everybody has a good day. I hope to see you all back here at 5:30 Eastern for another live. So take care. There you go. Bye.
Bye, everybody.